Welcome to the Pursuit of Progress podcast, the podcast dedicated to helping you achieve consistent, meaningful growth. If you're committed to personal and professional excellence, you've come to the right place.
Ben, what is up, buddy? As always, guys, Ben Adams, Adam Lang here with another episode 41 on the Pursuit of Progress podcast. And this week, we're going to talk about how just, in today's fast-paced world, finding inner peace can feel impossible for a lot of us. And we're just going to dive deep into the transformative power of mindfulness and meditation. Just talk through some simple practices that have been proven to reduce stress, improve focus, and just enhance our overall well-being. We're going to talk through, some specific mindfulness techniques, as well as just some practical tips to integrate into your daily routine. Whether you're a beginner or really looking just to deepen your practice, this episode is definitely going to give you the tools to live a calmer, more present life. So, mindfulness, meditation, these are words that 10 years ago, if you'd have asked me that, I would have made a joke about being a hippie or a yogi. Just something that, that's for these people that walk around in Birkenstocks all day long and aren't really doing anything with their lives. That was my stereotype, my what I thought of this back in the day. And fast forward 10 years, this is probably one of the things that I feel like is the most important, to have that healthy mental health, just that positive attitude on life, being able to take punches and get up quicker and rebound and just be in a lot more healthy place in your life. So, Ben, I want to start off by just talking through some practical tips for mindfulness and a few that are specific to meditation, and just hear
really
your
quick,
feedback on this. Yep.
I have two teenagers. So you're talking about how important this is. Dude, I got two damn teenagers. So yes, I mean, like, my anxiety and my stress level is off the charts at time. I went to the doctor today, and it's like, my blood panel looks good. Everything looks fine, but my blood pressure is high. And I'm like, well, I got a teenage kid who likes to like sneak out of the house every other, night. Like, so yeah, it's like, I'm really excited to hear what you have.
Yeah, well, I think my first experience with a lot of this was my father. So, my dad had a very high stress job. He retired about 10 years ago, but I'm not sure when exactly he got into this, if it was when he was still at work or if it was right after retirement. But he had just, also similar to a lot of us, had a lot of anxiety and stress with his job and just with our personal family dynamic with my sister with special needs, just a lot of stuff going on. So he actually went to a pretty intensive training up in Boulder for transcendental meditation, which is a very specific type of meditation. I'm not going to go too into that on this episode, but basically, it's, long story short, it's basically where you're doing these 20-minute meditations twice a day, every day, really for the rest of your life. I think my dad's missed a few here and there, but I mean, he really takes this seriously, and it's been a major catalyst in his life over the last few years, just with how dramatic it's been with improving his stress levels, anxiety, all that kind of stuff. So he's the one that I think I saw firsthand, the first person I've had that's close to me that I've seen it truly work some wonders in his life. And that motivated me to also start pursuing this a little bit more myself. So, Ben, I'm going to just, again, kind of share with you some different tips that I put together. And on each of these, I'd love just to get your feedback, share any personal stories maybe you have with some of these. And if the audience can maybe find one or two that they also can get some value from, that's all I'm looking for. Even if you guys just find one thing out of this entire episode that you can relate to a little bit and hopefully take home with you and turn into some actionable step where you're actually going to try and put this into play for a little bit and see if it helps. That's all we're trying to do here. So this first one is just talking about how, meditation specifically, it can feel overwhelming at times. So the key for me, with me personally getting a little bit more familiar and just comfortable with meditation, is by just starting out with very small, what they even call a micro meditation. And this is just basically just encouraging you guys to start with something as little as just 1 or 2 minutes of meditation per day. That 1 or 2 minutes can turn into 3 or 4. And over the course of a couple weeks and a couple months, you're going to get from 1 to 2 minutes to maybe 20 minutes, and maybe even get up to as high as maybe 25 or 30 minutes. It's just crazy how even something as little as 1 or 2 minutes, how long that can seem when you're forced to just have nothing but your thoughts and your mindfulness to keep you company.
It's interesting because you shared that story about your dad and the impact that the meditating has had on him. And then, you mentioned that you started doing some of that stuff. And that had a really big influence on me. And I can't even remember if I've actually ever even told you this, but I started doing that myself. We work out every morning at the gym together. And then as soon as I get home, I go through some of these routines. And one of those is just meditating. And I started off just doing a minute and 30 seconds. And then over the past 6 months, I've been adding like 30 seconds kind of every month. And now I'm up to like 4.5 minutes. What's so fascinating about that is that when I start, my mind is just all over the place. I'm thinking of like problems. I'm thinking of like kid stuff, work stuff, and I have to like remind myself to let go and just and it just keeps popping in and just like getting my mind to a place where I can really like turn it off and like calm down. And then after I come out of that, because I time it to make sure that I'm doing the correct time, like I feel very, just that clarity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the ways I had success with it was using an app called Headspace. I've tried a few different apps, you guys. There's Calm, there's Headspace. I really like Headspace specifically. So if you're looking at shopping around a few different apps, definitely look into Headspace. And I think that is a game changer, having guided meditation. But the guy that started Headspace, he's a very very wealthy guy at this point. I forgot his first name. I think it's like Anthony or Andy Puddicombe is his name, but very recognizable voice. If you guys want to listen to one of the Headspace apps meditations, you'll recognize his voice. But I always like the way he phrases what you're talking about, Ben, where when you're meditating, just almost assuming that these thoughts that are coming into your brain as like clouds, like on a nice sunny day, you're just like seeing these clouds kind of passing by, and those are just thoughts. They're coming and they're going, and just kind of getting into this place in your mindset where it's just a thought. It's coming in, it's coming out, it's coming in, it's
Yeah.
going out, and just kind of having these visualizations almost with your eyes closed. But um, that's really helped me just kind of understand that that's just a thought coming in, and then you can kind of push that thought away like a soft little cloud, just out of your headspace.
As a follow up to that, there are certain things that trigger all of us, and since this is a podcast dedicated on growth, I really always try and keep an awareness, for me personally and emotionally, like what are those things that really trigger me or get me worked up. And like earlier this week, I had a guest that left just a really nasty, kind of inaccurate review on one of my Airbnbs in Arizona. I'm not going to get into the details, but it just wasn't truthful, and it was also a very low score. And so in the past, like getting a review like that, or like that's one of those things that like will trigger me, where it just like is such a disruption to like
Mm-hmm.
what I'm doing, like in that moment, whether I'm with my kids or doing my job, and it just takes me so off task and off focus. And when that happened this week, I was telling myself like, okay, I'm gonna think through this. I'm gonna meditate. I'm not gonna let this like ruin my day. And I intentionally like didn't address it on purpose until later in the afternoon, just to just so I could start developing some of the skills and kind of the control over my own emotions, to where I'm practicing some of this stuff and I'm not being so either triggered or controlled by some of these external outside circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Love that. Yeah, kind of following up on that, the other suggestion I have for you guys that I've had a lot of success with, just because meditation is hard. It sounds like the easiest thing ever, but I mean, it really is something that takes practice, takes consistency, and just takes a lot of intention, or just you have to really want it. There's a big difference between just going and sitting in a chair for 10 minutes and just trying to not think about anything versus actually really putting yourself into this mind state and really focusing on these things that we're talking about, like the clouds and the thoughts, and like really trying to get into a deeper sense of mindfulness. So one thing that's really been helpful for me is just having a very specific and consistent location in my house that I do this in. I also think it is a game changer to use noise canceling headphones, especially if you're using a guided meditation app like Headspace or Calm, just because you have those distractions that maybe Ben's kind of talking a little bit about, or even just, I've got a dog, for example, and if he starts barking at a squirrel outside and I'm trying to meditate, that's going to disrupt me and I'm going to kind of fall out of this deeper consciousness that I hopefully have gotten into by meditating. So just having some little things that you can do to really minimize not just the auditory distractions, but also just physical touch distractions. So like the chair that you're in, being in a chair where you can really feel comfortable, you're not too far reclined where you're going to be falling asleep, but you're also able to really just be in a comfortable position, ideally with your feet on the floor, maybe your hands on a nice comfortable armrest, just these little things that don't sound like much, but it really turns into something pretty significant once you kind of develop what your comfort, your little zone is for your meditation. So just, if you're having a hard time, especially if you have, kids and dogs and just a busy life at home, maybe finding a room where they're not going to come in if you have the door closed. Maybe it's even your closet or your bathroom or, wherever it may be, but just finding a place that you can really have control over your environment.
And you mentioned the importance of, picking a place. Do you feel that same way about picking a certain time as well? Like, maybe for someone it might be in the morning before the kids are up or before, like, I mean, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, it could go a couple different directions there. If you're doing transcendental meditation, that's the twice a day. You don't have to necessarily have it be transcendental meditation to choose to do it twice a day. You could still just do a regular 5 or a 10 minute, even a 2 or 3 minute meditation twice a day. I will say, though, that just like other habits and routines that you're trying to establish for yourself, the more that you can do in the morning, in my opinion, the more likely it is to be done and completed on a consistent basis. Also, I think it does create a level of intention through the rest of the day if you start in the morning with something positive like this. However, usually in the morning, it's before a lot of, you know, stuff has been thrown at you where maybe you're already naturally in a more calm state of mind. So if that's the case, I recommend maybe giving it a try at lunchtime, maybe early afternoon. Just maybe think of times throughout the day where you feel like you are at a higher level of stress instead of taking a 10-minute break to go, walk around the block or stretch your legs for a few minutes. Maybe just incorporate a quick meditation as part of that afternoon break, as an example.
That's great.
But again, guys, I'm telling you, man, the apps that you can download are a game changer. That just having that voice that occasionally comes into your headphones and just reminds you of certain breathing techniques, of certain strategies to really get yourself away from those distractions. Simple things like counting down from 10. It sounds like, obviously very simple, but there's this little strategy of how you're doing that really puts you in a way where you're distracted by your own counting and your own thoughts, which then pushes those other, thoughts that are maybe have come into your head. It kind of gets those out of there without you even realizing that's what you're doing. So
You mentioned breathing there a minute ago. And, when I think of meditating, I think of calmness, stillness. I think of being present. You have the dedicated space, the time. For me, I associate it with the morning, kind of like, sunrise. How, would you say that breathing is another one of those really important factors when it comes to, meditating and getting the most out of that time?
for sure. Yeah, you can go in a few different directions on this one too, but I also recommend you guys check out Wim Hof. And Wim Hof is this pretty eccentric guy that's, maybe in some levels, maybe even like beaten cancer and some other pretty crazy things, health related obstacles he's come across just from cold water. So he's kind of the originator of cold plunging in a way. I mean, it's been around for a lot longer than he has, but he's somebody that really put that out into the more mainstream public eye. And also, he's really big on breathing. And there's also an app you can download for free on Wim Hof, WIMHOF. Wim Hof is his name. But man, I'll tell you what, there's some breathing techniques that he does where you literally feel euphoric, like you are on something. Like it's almost like a drug induced euphoria that you can get just strictly from how you breathe and just how deep you can get into this breathing. So definitely breathing and just that mindfulness that comes with really structured breathing techniques is another great way to help with your mindfulness and just your level of hopefully reducing your anxiety levels. So one that I'll talk through now, it's one of these exercises that I'm going to share with you guys later on in the episode today. But there's one that's called the 4-7-8 breathing technique. And this is great if you're maybe like Ben was talking about with his one of his kids sneaking out at night, or just like maybe you're somebody that's like dealing with some anxiety that just kind of came out of nowhere, and you just need something right then and there to get you back to a more conscious, normal level of state of mind. So the 4-7-8 is basically you just hold a really deep inhale. So inhaling for 4 full seconds. So a very slow inhale, literally for 4 seconds, counting it just in your head while you're breathing in for 4 seconds. And then you're actually holding your breath for 7 seconds. Again, just counting in your head 7 seconds with that deep, deep breath that you've taken in. And then exhaling for 8 seconds. So it's a very, very slow exhale. When you're doing that 4-second inhale, I've heard a lot of people say that you want to do that through your nose. And then when you're breathing out, obviously breathing out through your mouth. I have a hard time getting that much oxygen and air in through my nose. So I still also inhale a little bit with my mouth too. So don't get too hung up on that part of it. But the bigger part of this is just really getting that in very, very, very deep level of breath where you're getting high, high levels of oxygen into your brain, and then you're holding it. And then it's a very slow outward exhale. So just try that. You guys can look that up also on YouTube. There's a ton of just content you can find for free online. 4-7-8 breathing technique.
Some of this, I'm working on my breathing as you're sharing this. Like, I'm going through on camera here, working on my breathing.
We maybe we'll do an episode where we'll start the episode with a little breathing exercise. But
Yeah.
this is another one of these things that just I think more recently has become very publicized as far as, again, cold plunging, breath work. These are things that literally can be done without spending a penny. You don't need any equipment or fancy, clothes or shoes. You don't need anything. It's literally just sitting by yourself somewhere and just breathing in and out. And rather than popping a pill to reduce your anxiety, or all these medications that everybody's being put on more now than ever, it's crazy to me how few people will not first look into very simple just lifestyle changes like breath work, healthy eating, drinking enough water, adequate amount of sleep. There's so many just simple things that people decide to push off and instead just get the easy fix of, what pill can I take, or what, quick, easy fix there is out there. That's not always the best solution, obviously.
It's not. And that also goes in with our podcast last week about consumerism. Like, these companies, these pharmaceuticals, they want you on this stuff so they can take your dollars, get your revenue. And it's not going to be a permanent change that's going to be in your best interest to be on a prescription for the rest of your life, or multiple prescriptions. And this is just one thing that I talk about. Like, how many people are really well hydrated and take their water intake seriously? I mean, it's just so minute. And if you're well hydrated, your body is 70% water. And if you're not well hydrated, I mean, it's just like you're a sponge that's drying out. Like, it's so important to be well hydrated.
Fun fact, you guys, Ben is actually dressed up as Kevin Costner from the movie Waterworld in every Halloween for the last 15 years. If you guys want to see him, make sure you guys give Ben a call and try and see him.
I
in
have gills right here, back behind my ears.
Gills. Yep. Very overrated or underrated movie. I need to see that movie again. That was a good movie back in the day. I'm probably going to be disappointed if I try watching it again.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'll get a couple more, and then we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk a little bit about exercises specifically, kind of similar to that 4-7-8 one I just talked about. So body scanning is another one that in the Headspace app, they actually incorporate this as part of your getting into your daily meditation. It's the first couple minutes in the meditation as they kind of talk through this body scan. And that's just a way that you can, again, it's going to be difficult at first, but after doing this consistently over a long period of time, it becomes actually pretty just eye-opening, or I guess your eyes are closed when you're doing this, so that's not the right word to use. Just very it's interesting how much of a connection you can start to have with different parts of your body that you're not even touching. So the way I can describe this on my personal experience is this body scan. You have your eyes closed. You start thinking of what's the highest up in your head. So maybe your ears. Like, how do my ears feel today? How do my cheeks feel? How does my chin feel? How does my neck feel? And then I get down to like my shoulders. And I mean, I can literally now sometimes just by thinking of like my right shoulder, feel it, like almost like feel like, oh, it's kind of sore, even without touching it or doing anything else. But anyways, all I'm trying to get at is this body scanning is something that is also very difficult at first. It takes a lot of practice and just getting into that deeper sense of awareness. But it is crazy how over time, how much you can really notice tension, discomfort, and then by identifying those areas further on into your meditation that day, you're able to kind of focus on that a little bit more and just um, kind of almost give it relief just by thinking about it.
Mm. You know, when I think of a scan, I think of the Star Trek, The Next Generation. When I was a kid, they had to like scan the ship one time. And so there was this laser beam that went through like the entire ship. And if there was someone on board that, was there illegally, if there was some problem, like the scan was going to pick it up. So when you say that, like in my mind, I'm visually like there's this hologram, this scan that I'm just, it's starting at the top of my head, coming all the way down and just hitting like 100% of my body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of these other cool little things that are fun just to see change over a period of a couple of weeks or months of just doing this every day. You really do become more aware of this, which sounds a little foo-foo, but just give it a shot, guys, and leave us a comment on the show or just reach out to one of us and just let us know if you guys have started to try and incorporate any of these into your lives. I just love to hear how it's going for you. So there's one more before we kind of wrap up on these first points here. Just talking a little bit about gratitude
Yeah.
and just intentionally taking a mindful break. So when it comes to gratitude, I think this could be incorporated either within that meditation or just as part of something else that you do on a daily basis. So a couple examples I'll give you would be brushing your teeth, or also just like if you I take my dog Charlie on a walk every morning after I get home from the gym before I take my shower. So like every day when I'm doing that, I take that as just kind of a time, and now it's just kind of like a alarm clock in my brain or a little reminder that pops up that just makes me think, yeah, what am I thankful for today? Like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but just thinking of one or two things that are just currently, positive aspects of your life. And just, again, having that gratitude practice on a daily basis is really, really good for your mental health and hopefully will minimize just the anxiety. And then just kind of that second part that I had mentioned about just taking mindful breaks, just really having those intentional times in the day where you got to figure out when that might be. Maybe it's in the morning, maybe you're finding a time in your afternoon to have a little quick 10-minute break. But just to ensure that this actually happens, since all of us live such busy lives nowadays, just set yourself a reminder in your phone or on your Google Calendar, just somewhere set up a recurring reminder, just so when you do get caught up in everything else going on, you're still just having an extra level of accountability by your phone or your computer, something reminding you to take that 10-minute break. Everybody has 10 minutes to dedicate to this on a daily basis, and if you don't, you're making up an excuse for yourself, and that's just not the case. Everybody has 10 minutes. So, there really is no excuse if this is something that you guys really need to work on in your lives and want to make a priority.
I got LASIK done in 2018, and when I got it done, the doctor told me how important it was to give your eyes a break. A lot of us are looking at a screen all the time, and when you don't change your depth of perception, meaning that you're looking at something in the exact same depth for multiple hours at a time, it can be really damaging to your eyes. And so one exercise they gave me is to like start looking at the computer and then looking across the room, changing that exercise. And that's helped me from a mental clarity perspective. But I love doing the one, I find myself working from home a lot more. And so one thing that I, enjoy doing is I'll just go for a short walk, right around my neighborhood. A lot of time, I have outdoor cats that hang out in the front yard. And so a lot of times I'll just go find one of them. I'll pet them. It'll start purring. It's happy to see me. I'm walking around observing nature. and just a 5 or 10 minute walk outside, I come back in just feeling so refreshed. It's like I have that little like mental vacation, and then I go back into the chaos. You know,
Think about, how many, and I'm guilty of this all the time. Something I really need to work on is just the mindlessness of social media. Like, think about how many times a day yourselves, or just in general, the majority of people in America nowadays are just spending, in that afternoon when they have that fatigue, instead of going outside and hanging with their cat or taking a quick walk around the block, they literally are just staring at their Instagram for maybe what we thought was going to be 5 minutes, and all of a sudden it's turned into 20 or 30 minutes. And I'm guilty of that, but just, again, just having something more productive, like just being outside, taking a break from the screen, that is going to make some drastic changes. I guarantee you guys.
that's great. Thank you, Adam, for sharing.
So, guys, let's take a quick break before we go on to some of these actionable steps that you guys can take. So, I got a trivia question for you this week. We're not doing a dad joke. We're going to do a trivia question this time. Which country currently, actually, this was in 2020, which country has the highest percentage of their citizens owning a home? So we actually had an episode last week on home ownership. And I believe, Ben, you shared that in the U.S., was it like, I think it's like 58 or 60% maybe?
Around there, yeah.
So the answer to this question, the country in the entire world that has the highest percentage is Romania. And they have a 96.1% home ownership percentage. And it's pretty amazing. I don't know what the reasoning is behind that, but thought that was just an interesting trivia question to share.
Interesting. That's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost as if like investment properties don't exist there, or it'd have to be a different type of investment if nobody's renting.
And I also wonder if just the cost of homes there must be really low.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be interesting to kind of dive into the some of the economics of that, and maybe we can do that for our next podcast.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Kind of dig into that a little bit more. Well, great. I also wanted to bring up, this is our our sponsored segment of the show. Thank you for that great segment there. If you're looking for a real estate team that goes beyond the transaction, well, Adam Sells Denver offers full service solutions for buyers, sellers, and investors with a focus on education and personalized strategies. Adam and his team are dedicated to preparing you for the perfect moment, ensuring your unique needs are met every step of the way. Adam Sells Denver is more than just a real estate agency. They're your partners from start to finish. Get started with free educational resources at adamsellsdenver.com or by calling or texting 970-500-0252 today.
Thanks, Ben. Hey, I think that I like that real estate company looks interesting. I might have to check them out one of these days. So, guys,
we're very thankful for the sponsors.
So, I really want to deliver for that sponsor this week. So I prepared 3 actionable just exercises for you guys to try. So, if one of these stands out to you more than the others, this could be something you guys could just remember to maybe try and implement this week and see if it helps at all. And if it does, that's great. I would love to hear about it, and maybe share with us which one you guys chose to do, and just, a little bit of personal feedback on why it was empowering you guys. So the first of these 3 is what we call the 5-4-3-2-1 grounding exercise. And I actually, so a few years ago, I was dealing with some pretty bad anxiety, just stress with life. Coincidentally, it was right, around that 40-year-old birthday. So I don't know if it was my midlife crisis or what exactly it was, but one of the things that a therapist had kind of shared with me that I thought was pretty helpful on implementing on my end was this 5-4-3-2-1 grounding exercise. So basically, and it doesn't have to be in this order, but you have your 5 senses. You can see, touch, hear, smell, and taste. So basically, this 5-4-3-2-1, on each of these numbers, you're going to think of one of those senses, and then you're going to identify a certain number of things that you can feel or taste or hear with that number. So, for example, let's just do one. Identify 5 things that you can see. So if you're sitting in your kitchen, I see the microwave. It can be literally anything. You're just, all that's important here is that you're just identifying very specific things. And by doing that, you're distracting your brain on only focusing on that, which is putting you into a more calm state of mind. So I'm going to identify 5 things I can see. And then once you do that, I'm going to
Like how
think of,
you went straight to the microwave.
hey man, I'm hungry. 4 things that I can touch. I can touch the table that I'm sitting at. I can
Yeah.
feel the hair on my knees with my hand on my knee. As far as 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear. So I can hear my air conditioning in the background. I can hear a fan blowing. Whatever. Hear a dog going outside. 2 things that you can smell. So just try and think of a thing you can smell or 2. Hopefully good things, not bad things. And then 1 thing you can taste. And I think the taste is always a good one to do last. Maybe the smell and the taste, because those are a little bit harder to have a ton of different things. But just something you can taste. You have a piece of gum in your mouth, or whatever it may be. So, but once you guys get all the way down to 1, if you've really focused on doing all 5, by the time you get to 1, I guarantee you're going to be feeling a little bit better.
And
So,
do you always have to do like see, touch, hear, smell, taste, or can you mix that up too?
well, those are just the 5 senses. What do you mean? Like,
I mean, like for example, like see 5 things, touch 4 things. Can you mix up the sense with the number?
yeah, I was just saying though, the for the last 2, number 1 and 2, those are a little bit easier to have on the low numbers. So the taste and the smell. So I would suggest maybe have those 2 at the last. But yeah, absolutely. Do whatever you guys just works best for you. So that's the first one. This next one is called a box breathing exercise. And this is like a more simplified version of that Wim Hof technique that I was talking about earlier, which is also that 4-7-8 breathing technique. Again, where you're breathing in for 4, you're holding for 7, then you're blowing out, you're exhaling for 8 seconds. The box breathing technique is a little similar to that, but it's just basically 4 and 4. So basically on this one, you're going to be breathing in for 4 counts, holding for 4 counts, exhaling for 4 counts. And then just as soon as you exhale for 4 counts, then you're breathing in. And just that repetitive, do that as many times as you can. Maybe do that 10 times. That probably will take you, a couple minutes. And just once you've done that, just be aware of how you feel afterwards. So really the only difference with this box breathing technique is just that the number's the same. I do think there's a little bit more benefit to doing that longer hold, like that 8-second hold on that other one. But this box breathing exercise is really common. You guys are going to start to probably see this a little bit more frequently now that I've mentioned it. So that's
And
the
talk
box
to us
breathing.
about your visualization exercise.
Yeah. So this one is something that I didn't even realize I did until I started doing some research on it. But basically this is just utilizing your imagination. So just really having this short visualization where you can close your eyes, just imagine some place that maybe you've personally been to, or even if not, just a place that really just brings you this level of just serenity. So just imagining a place that's calm, peaceful. I have a beach that I think of. There could be a forest.
Mm.
um, on me for mine, I'll share it with you. There's this one beach in Kauai. It's actually called Secret Beach, and you have to hike down this. I never actually took you there, Ben. I don't think you've been to this beach before, but
Yeah.
just like super pristine, just beautiful beach, and it's just like very kind of recognizable, kind of iconic. It's got these big cliffs on one side, but I just like imagine like myself walking on that beach, listening to music, just seeing the ocean coming and going. I don't know. There's just like these places that I'm sure everybody has that are their favorites, or just their places that they can really like visualize a little bit at a deeper level than
Yeah.
others. So just think of one of those places when you guys are, again, feeling stress or anxiety, and just try and put yourself in that place. I always do it. For me, it's when I'm walking. It's just like I'm walking, listening to music, and then I just kind of visualize myself instead of walking on a street in Denver, that I'm on a beach in Kauai. So, guys, again, try those. Let us know if any of those work for you, and share the show. If you guys do get some value out of that, share it with one of your friends, and hopefully they can try these as well.
All right. Well, is that a wrap?
That is, man. Let's close it out. Actually, guys, I'm just gonna give you a couple quick takeaways, just kind of remind you what we went over today. So, again, if you're feeling inspired and you want to just bring a little bit more of this mindfulness into your everyday life, Remember, it doesn't have to be that complicated. Just start small with those micro meditations that we talked about, just a minute or two of focused breathing each day. That can really make a big difference. Try
Okay.
that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding exercise. Again, that really helps you feel anchored and present in the moment during any times of stress that you have on a daily basis. And if you want to try another one, that box breathing, that 4, 4, 4, 4 is just a very easy to remember. And again, you can do that anywhere at any time. Just also remember, don't forget that power visualization is also really powerful. Just picturing that peaceful place, just really getting that level of calm, just taking everything else out of your head, just having that imagination take you to that special place. Just really incorporate all of this mindfulness into your daily activities, brushing your teeth, washing dishes, walking your dog, just having certain things that you're always doing as your little reminders that this could be a time that you could practice mindfulness. And then also just really look into some of those apps that we shared with you guys today, like Headspace, Calm. There's another one called Insight Timer that can also help you guide meditations. And then again, just some of those breathing techniques. That's free. It's easy. You can do it anywhere. Recommend you guys just try and just do one of these. I know we talked about a lot, so it doesn't have to be all of this. Just think one or two of these techniques that kind of struck you guys today and were interesting. Just give those a shot.
Okay. Well, great information. Thank you for sharing your journey with us on meditation. Just so impactful. We hope that you guys enjoyed the show today. Thank you for tuning in. And don't forget to subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. We're still trying to build the channel out. So, if you have any comments, please leave comments as well. We'll see you next Friday. This is Benjamin Adams on behalf of Adam Lang for the Pursuit of Progress podcast. Until next time.
See you guys. Go Broncos.